on the street regarding health is hydrate. The new word regarding that is live, spelled L-I-V. So get out and live life well with products and systems made with new technology that you simply add to or take with water. You hydrate, lose weight, cleanse your system, gain energy, and it is all natural. Go to mylivezone.com/Kawada to find out more. Live, L-I-V zone.com/Kawada. Let's all get out and live life well.
Hello, everybody. Dave and Tiff back here with you for another one of our sports podcasts. We are going to talk some baseball today because, well, it is baseball season. We have Les Murakami Stadium behind you, Tiff?
That is Les Murakami Stadium right behind me. I'm right behind home plate.
Right behind home plate, as if you were the backstop. And here's the thing. It's going to be Harrison Kuroda, a former pitcher for the University of Hawaii, that'll join us in about 15 minutes or so into this podcast. We're going to talk some baseball with him. University of Hawaii is ending their season coming up as we make this recording here. Major League Baseball season going on. But I thought we'd kind of touch up on a couple of things before we get into Harrison. And I got to ask, though, NBA playoffs are going on. I think the last time I asked you about
Playoffs?
NBA playoffs, you didn't have a team, or rather, you were supporting a team that was your fiance's.
That you hate and you have grown to hate.
What is that true? What team?
It's not my team. My fiance's team is the Boston Celtics. And yes, I know they're down 0-2. Yes, I know Jaylen Brown is not available. But yes, I will root and support my fiance and pull for the Boston Celtics.
And I am the Lakers fan that I am. So, yeah, that really sucks. Well, we're going to hope that our teams, which are actually lower seeded, the Lakers seeded 7th, have to do the play-in game, for goodness sakes. And the Celtics not doing much better this season. We'll have to have a steeper hill to climb to get to the finals. But, anything can happen when it comes to the playoffs. I'm glad the Lakers won just recently. So at least, I'm getting something. Yeah, I'm getting something. But, in the area of basketball, just a little bit, let's go a little bit to college basketball, because there was a article that came out on ESPN. Former Louisville recruit Brian Bowen Jr., who was caught in all that scandal when he was being recruited, quote unquote, recruited by Louisville to play there. But there was payouts being made by supposedly Adidas was involved. Of course, the Louisville coaching staff is involved. And then you had a suit that Brian Bowen Jr. filed suit against Adidas, all these people here, financial advisors who are supposed to help him eventually when he becomes a pro to handle his finances. And that was leading him toward, if you sign with Louisville, you'll get all this stuff. His father was getting some money. All that happened. Louisville eventually said, you're not eligible to play with us. Hello. And then he tried to go to another school. They said, the NCAA said, heck no, you got too much stuff going on that's illegal or under investigation. You're not eligible. So he ended up playing like in Australia a year. Then he tried to latch on to the NBA. So he filed this suit saying that basically all this stuff that happened, again, that you guys did to me while you're trying to recruit me, caused me to lose future earnings from potential earnings for having been in, or potentially being in the NBA. Well, the suit was tossed out. One of the things when I think about this, although it's a sad situation related to college recruiting, which is going on all over the place, but not only is this young man's career, not what it could have been, but they were accepting all of this, payouts, benefits. Don't tell me he and his father didn't know this was wrong. $100,000, I believe, was paid to the father. Mm-hmm. So they were hoping to get away with it. And I'm sure they were hoping, just like a lot of other college recruits who did get away with it, that they could reap some benefit, get to play for Louisville in a top program under Rick Pitino, eventually get to the NBA and make millions. So they were looking to get the fast track and make the dough even while he was a high school student before he got to Louisville. So is a little bit of sadness that this young man lost his career, potential career, but you know you were dealing with illegal stuff, right?
Even if you aren't a top 150, 200 player in the NBA, you're still going to have a contract, even if it's below $1 million, it's still going to be above, say, 400, 500,000, maybe 600,000. So, in this, like you said, it's a tough circumstance. You feel bad for the young man that his NBA career has basically not happened. And he played a few games with the Pacers and whatnot, but it's 2021. We're in this day and age of instant gratification. And if you think you're good enough to play pro, the top colleges and top universities will find you. Even if you aren't a blue chip recruit, you can play at any level. And as we've heard in the NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, if you play on a lower level other than like a high major Division I, scouts, coaches, they will find you. If you're good enough, you'll find the spot. You'll latch on with the team. And even if it's a two-way contract, or if you're in the G League, or if you're overseas, you can find a way to latch on and play professionally and make your money. But as we've all learned in this day and age of instant gratification, $100,000, it may seem like a lot, but that's only going to last for so long. And because of that situation, potential earnings won't be coming his way. So like you said, you feel bad for the young man, but at the end of the day, if you had just waited and just rode your time, rode it out, bought your time, who knows? You could have latched on and you could have a multi-year contract.
So if I'm reading it here, it says Bowen, a 5-star recruit from Michigan, sued Adidas America employees Chris Rivers and James Gatto, former Adidas consultants Merle Code and Thomas Gasnola, former NBA runner Christian Dawkins, and financial manager Munish Sood back in 2018, alleging that they violated the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act by engaging in bribery, fraud, and money laundering at the expense of his NCAA eligibility and athletic development. So again, that case was tossed out, although a lot of what happened is in fact facts in terms of what was being done illegally. It did not, according to the judge, violate specific things related to that Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. So it really just goes back to the foundation. Aside from what you said about instant gratification, they knew they were Reggie Bush at USC. I'm a USC alum. Their family knew what they were doing was illegal. They knew it was against the rules, and they were hoping to get away with it, and they got caught. And this is what happened. So there you go. Turning a little bit to locally here, University of Hawaii football, where a local writer, sports writer for the Honolulu Star Advertiser, Stephen Tsai, came out with an article earlier this week. And I think I got to ask him, did he watch our podcast? Because remember, we talked about, he has an article about the TC Ching Athletic Complex on the campus of the University of Hawaii, how they are retrofitting that facility to be able to house their college football games for the next 3 years, because the home place, Aloha Stadium, in December of 2020 said it's not fit for spectators, not safe anymore. So while they're in the process of demolishing and going to rebuild this new stadium that is already in the design works and out for bid and all that kind of stuff, UH said, you know what? We're going to make our TC Ching complex, which is a track and field, had a football field and everything. We're going to spruce it up and make it suitable for college football. This looks like they're going to have temporary bleachers put in and all the other bells and whistles for 9,000 seats. And then next year, they're going to try and bump it up even more, $8 million price tag to do this. And he points out the fact, hey, what we brought up here on our podcast earlier, because the University of Hawaii is forced to do this on their campus, they're going to see what happens come this next football season. And chances are they're going to see a 9,000 seat facility filled with demand for more because it's more convenient. They're going to see how they have total control. They don't have to worry about dealing with the stadium authority and about losing out with parking, ad revenue, concession revenue, everything. They have control of all the revenue that they can generate. And they might just say, you know what? Let's invest and make this our stadium. Never mind about a law stadium. But Steven Tsai basically pointed out, why don't we just reallocate the funds we're going to use for a new Aloha Stadium and put it into making a stadium at the University of Hawaii? Now, I'm sure everyone at Aloha Stadium is like, what? But it was heard here first, and we're going to take credit for that idea. What do you think?
Why can't we have nice things? Why do we have to have just one facility? Why can't we have two? Why can't we have this Aloha Stadium Entertainment Complex, which I'm born and raised here, you're born and raised here. We all know how long it takes for things to not only be built, but to have plans drawn up, things approved, money allocated. We all know it takes longer, and we don't have to say anything other than 4 letters of RAIL. And you know what I'm talking about. I would really enjoy if there could be a way, once the entertainment complex is complete, who knows how long it's going to take, that it can seat 50 to 75,000, because you need a minimum threshold for, say, the Pro Bowl. Say if you wanted to, I don't know, somehow if the Super Bowl, say they wanted to come out, say HTA thought of a way to put in a bid to host the Super Bowl. You need a minimum of 70,000. If you could find a way to make a 75,000 seat stadium in that complex, think of the revenue. Think of, say, when you have the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl. I know having an on-campus facility is great, and I think it's going to be amazing. I know it's going to be, around 9,000 for the first year, for capacity, and with plans to upgrade it to 15. It's tough to see a maximum capacity of 15,000 for a FBS mid-major program. I would love to keep a capacity of 50,000. Do I see that happening on campus and where they are at? I would need to see more plans. Could it be done? Maybe. But if you could find a way to have that entertainment complex that could be 50 to 75,000 for capacity, you could have big events coming to the islands. You could have concerts, other types of events, and keep it football and maybe soccer related. You don't have to have a configuration of baseball and football and have the elements rusted and it becomes locked into one place.
I'm writing that down to Athletic Director David Matlin to submit
Our good
plans.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, David Matlin, please submit plans to Tiff Wells regarding concepts and conceptualizations on a 50 to 70,000 seat facility because doggone it, we deserve it.
Well, and also like we saw that came out today, CBS Sports Network has announced that 2 UH football games are going to be on TV. The game in Nevada on October 16th, and then the first home game on TV for major television outside of Spectrum Sports, October 2nd against Fresno State. And we've all heard from David Matlin and everybody at UH that this is a project that we will not fail at. And yes, your first home game is September 4th against Portland State. Yes, people watch it on TV, but again, Spectrum Sports is a regional network. It's not national. Once you get onto CBS Sports Network, you better have that complex done and looking great for television when October 2nd comes around.
Oh, exciting stuff. I can't wait for football already. But before we do that, let's talk some baseball with our guest, former University of Hawaii, pitcher Harrison Kuroda, coming up.
Award-winning Hawaii sports writer Cindy Lewis shares her love of volleyball and other sports topics with her new website, cindylewis.com. After nearly 40 years of covering the top events in Hawaii, Cindy brings her reporting flair and insight to the digital format for all to enjoy. Get the very latest information on University of Hawaii volleyball for all teams, women, men, and beach, from one of the most respected journalists in the state. Go to cindylewis.com and you will be connected.
We're glad to be joined by our guest today, a former pitcher with the University of Hawaii Rainbow Warrior baseball team, played on that field behind Tiff's head, which is Les Murakami Stadium. We're joined by Harrison Kuroda. Harrison, thanks for taking some time to join us. And I was going to say, what's up with you? But I realize you're quite busy because you're a new father.
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me, guys. This is always really, really fun, this kind of stuff. So thank you for having me. But yeah, first-time father. So I am sleep deprived, and I am trying to find my spots on where to take a nap. But on my end, all good, all good.
What's the, aside from the sleep deprivation, what did you find was kind of the challenge? It's great to be a father and great to have a child. What has been the more challenging thing for you, though?
The more like I tend to like eat pretty well, but like when I'm in the middle of the night changing diapers, I just open the fridge and mindlessly just, oh my goodness, there's extra cake or there's leftover pie. I think I'm gonna have some pie right now. So that's probably the biggest challenge. I tend to have a pretty mean sweet tooth when I'm half asleep and at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, I've been there. Tiff will someday be there. So
Someday, yes.
Yes, he will.
Be prepared.
He's taking the first step. Getting married pretty soon. So congrats, Tiff.
Thank you. Looking very forward to it.
That's right. Hey,
Awesome.
I know I'll forget this, so I want to ask this off the bat before I send it to Tiff. Okay, as a baseball guy, I'm sure you've been watching and at least aware. Maybe you haven't been watching TV now because you had a little baby around the house. But Shohei Ohtani, right, the star for the Angels, pitcher, hitter, just had a home run, I believe, yesterday. And I've never been a high-level pitcher like you have, pitched in Division I college baseball. But is it that difficult and that unique? Now, granted, this is the major league level, but to be able to do what he's doing and be able to play and hit and play first base and hit and pitch.
I think I could probably spend an hour talking about this. I'm not going to spend an hour talking about this and unpacking this, but like I watch him play, right? And you know, I do watch a lot of baseball because there is a lot of sleepless nights at night. So I just throw it on MLB Network and just watch replays all day and highlights. So it's a skill set that like it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense at the same time because like as a little leaguer, right? Everybody who pitches hits. Like everybody does that. That's like what you do until a lot of times high school, and then you get to college and now it automatically stops. I think a lot of people have this notion that because it's so physically taxing to pitch at a high level and to play every day on the field at a high level, it's kind of a thing that you can't do both. But yeah, I mean, for Shohei Ohtani, it's kind of like I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It's like having a top 10 quarterback who also plays inside linebacker and will get 30 snaps on defense. So like it's a skill set that doesn't make sense, but again, like makes sense because everybody does it until high school. So he's a really good hitter. I think right now at this point he's a better hitter than a pitcher, but the pitching side, he's so athletic and so strong that I think he can kind of just roll out of bed and just chuck a baseball 100 miles an hour. But then again, that's kind of why you see his walk total being really, really high this year. I think I don't have his stats right in front of me handy, but I think his walk total is a little more than 1 per inning, which as a starting pitcher, that's not super ideal. But I mean, he misses bats, and that's kind of the thing, right? It's that he has that nasty split finger, and he's like the perfect starting pitcher for this generation of baseball, right? It's like you're not asking your starting pitchers to throw into the 6th inning anymore. If you can if you got to go get him in the 5th inning, that's okay. And that's kind of what he's been doing. So, but you know what though? Like, I want to see this thing last as long as it can, man, because it's fun.
Harry, you mentioned Shohei Ohtani. Outside of maybe your favorite team, who are maybe a couple of players, if you see that a game is going to be on TV and if they're either on the mound or they're coming up to bat, which couple of players will you stop everything for so you can watch them in action?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think hitting wise, probably Mike Trout. I think just because of the body of work. Unfortunately, he's hurt right now, but Mike Trout, man, he's this generation's Joe DiMaggio. He does it all. He plays outstanding defense, hits home runs, steals a lot of bases. So yeah, but other than Mike Trout, probably Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom is, I mean, again, like talking about a skill set that doesn't make sense. That guy makes absolute zero sense to me. He throws extremely hard. He doesn't walk anybody, and all of his off-speed stuff is like 90 miles an hour. So, I mean, again, doesn't make sense. I think he started yesterday. I think he got the win from the Mets, but yeah, that guy is super nasty, and not even and this is kind of what was one of my like aha moments was that, like, you know, I would have never made the major leagues because Jacob deGrom was a converted shortstop. He went to Stetson, and he didn't even pitch in college. So, like, you know, I'm like, if that guy just picks up pitching on the side, yeah, that my chances of that are slim to none.
We better get on the phone and talk with Dunmore Amaru to have you be a shortstop when you were coming up through
my
god, over at Mid-Pacific.
Trust me, I could never field a ground ball ever.
We know the baseball guys are something else in terms of, you know, superstitions and, you know, unwritten rules of baseball. What was maybe your top superstition, and if there was a unwritten rule that you would want to change or one that you like, what would it be?
Superstition. I wasn't too much of a superstition guy. I mean, other than, you know, if I threw the ball particularly well the day before or the weekend before, like I tried to, you know, eat the same thing, you know, nothing too crazy. But the unwritten rule is, I think I'm kind of over the you know, a guy bat flips off of a pitcher and then automatically that guy gets thrown at the very next at bat. You know, like I always thought, like, if a guy got you and he wants to admire his home run, get him out next time. Don't just go right after him because he, you know, beat you on that particular pitch and he hit it hard and he hit it out of the park. So I think that kind of you know, you're starting to see Major League Baseball players kind of talk like that. I think, you know, just don't go after him. Just be better and get him out. So, yeah, I'd like to see that.
We're talking with former Hawaii baseball pitcher as well as the 2004 Hawaii Gatorade State Player of the Year. How about that one, Dave? We're talking with Harry Kuroda. Harry, is baseball becoming more boring because it's lower batting averages, more strikeouts, but more home runs? Is the game becoming boring? Is it not attracting that next generation of fans?
Yeah, it's not. But no, I don't think it's any fault to anybody. I think you're just seeing, you know, I think I heard Elon Musk talking about how technology, you know, it's exponential. The development of technology is exponentially getting better year after year, and that's what you're seeing with pitching. You know, I think overall the last 25, 30 years, hitting technique and hitting has kind of stayed the same, but pitching, professional baseball and pitchers in general have weaponized technology. You're now starting to train, the prevailing thinking before when I was in high school and college was, you know, you kind of had a finite amount of velocity in your arm. But now that's not true. You have some of these pitching training companies that have these formulas and have these training regiments that you know, are getting guys top end velocity. And so, you know, it's not a surprise that more velocity means more strikeouts and more and less hard contact. And so, you know, Major League Baseball has, or not Major League Baseball, excuse me, you know, Major League Baseball teams have done a really good job with, you know, getting their pitchers better. And then now you have these like crazy spray charts of hot and cold zones of like, hey, where do these guys hit well in this count against this pitch in this stadium? So it's really down to a science. Pitching is more of a science nowadays. It's less of an art. But yeah, I think that's why you're starting to see Major League Baseball kind of tinker around with some of these, you know, pace of play rules and enlarging the size of the bases to encourage base stealing. And, you know, so yeah, I think Major League Baseball is doing doing what they can without really affecting the game to attract a new generation of fans. So I'm really interested to see what baseball looks like in 10 years.
One of those baseball companies happens to be on the island, and you just happen to be associated with it. So tell us about this company, and if there are athletes out there that are wanting to improve their performance, what types of things can they get out of it when they come to your company?
Well, I'm an owner operator of Pitching Performance Hawaii, and yeah, so like you said, it's you know, I tend to try and be a little bit more of a technique based instructor. I still think that the better you move and the better technique you have, you know, the more likely of a chance that you have to have positive outcomes when you're on the mound. So I don't have a lot of those real fancy bells and whistles yet. I was hoping to pre-COVID-19. I was doing fairly well, and then you know, I just wanted to you know, once the pandemic and the shutdown hit, then you know, I tried to limit some spending. I tried to you know, just make sure that I survived. And so thankfully that I'm back open, and things tend to be going more towards a new normal, but normal nonetheless. So yeah, I'm a big technique guy. I'm a big believer in you know, just being able to optimize your body and optimizing your strategy and optimizing your understanding of the game of baseball. So shameless plug, if you want to reach out, 808-352-0478 or pitchingperformancehawaii@gmail.com.
My last question for you, Harrison, and this one basically came off of what you're talking about with late night snacks as you help, you know, raise your little one. So we see in Major League Baseball games all sorts of snacks, whether they're in the dugout or in the bullpen. So my question to you is, what kind of snacks would Coach Mike Trapasso allow you guys to have in games at Les Murakami Stadium, or when you guys traveled?
Well, pre-Domo turf, when we had the old AstroTurf, sunflower seeds were free reign. But after the new turf went in, I think that was like the 11th commandment of thou shalt not have sunflower seeds at Les Murakami Stadium. So, so sunflower seeds got banged real quick. You know, I wasn't a real big, snack guy. I know, you know, before that gal from Long Beach against in softball, we had a whole tray of Spam musubis that were usually made by somebody's mom or somebody's grandma. Yeah, Spam musubis. I know we used to have a huge thing of like, we used to have a double of Hubba Bubba gum. I think that was a big hit. But yeah, you know, I think some guys would like crush Red Bulls. I think that was kind of the big thing. I think Red Bull was like starting to get real popular when we were in college. So guys would crush Red Bull and just throw it down and try and slam the door in the ninth.
We're joined with Harrison Kuroda, and just the last thing I just wanted to throw at you. You know, the whole new thing of the college student athletes now, more and more they're going to be allowed to be able to take advantage of their likeness, profit from it, if you will. It tends to lean or skew toward, I would think, football, men's basketball, because it seems to me that the opportunities tend to thrive on those sports, and to some extent baseball too. So what is your thoughts on that?
I hope they're a little more creative. You know, I don't want it to go towards the, you know, I don't know, just throw a name out there. Scotty Scott, for instance. You know, if he wanted to endorse some sort of like Tony Honda or something, I don't think they should be like plastered all over TV and doing commercials and stuff like that. What I hope they do is some sort of, I don't know, maybe some sort of IRA or some sort of 401k, something like that, just to, you know, maybe not cash that they can get to immediately, but, you know, something that can kind of set them up for the future after they're done playing. And, you know, once they figure out what they're going to do professionally after college. So I'd like to see that, just because, you know, somebody, you know, for me, I wasn't very privy to stuff like that until I was probably, you know, 30. If I had known about that at 22, I probably would have been a lot more set up with that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I think that'd be pretty cool, you know, 401k or some sort of thing like that.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. That's a good creative idea there. See, when you become a father, all these long-term
I know
come up, you know, retirement, college fund, those kind of things start to come to the top now, right?
Yeah, and I'm just like, how am I going to afford tuition? Like, like, how am I going to do that?
Well, Harrison, I want to thank you so much for taking some time, especially now with your busy schedule with being a new father. Congratulations on that, by the way, and hope to talk to you again soon. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys, and you guys have a good week.
All right,
Thanks, Harry.
Thank you.
Over 30 years of experience of covering Hawaii sports and telling stories can be found with BedrockSportsHawaii.com. Hawaii sports writer Nick Abramo shares his passion for insight, news, and opinions, along with stories and tales in what he calls the inexhaustible universe of athletics. Football, surfing, hockey, yes, hockey, and wrestling are some of the featured content you will find on BedrockSportsHawaii.com.
Oh, good to talk to Harrison Kuroda. Okay, for our final segment, it is graduation season, May, right? High schools, colleges, all of that pomp and circumstance, challenges that pandemic made college graduations and high school graduations totally different. So we'll have our own graduation. And so our thing was to come up with a senior class group, maybe either in high school or college, on any team or whatever that you feel you want to recognize for some of their accomplishments they either did this year as a person or individual or as a group, or throughout their time that they were at this school. So who would you'd want to recognize, Tiff?
The easy one for me would be men's volleyball. Between Patrick Gaspin, Colton Cowell, Rada Patapunov, Gage Worsley, Jackson Van Eckeren, and James Anastasiadis. And most of those guys are graduating with more than just an undergrad. Many of them are getting PhDs, graduate degrees, certificates. That's the easy one for me. But I would like to recognize anybody who is graduating in this 2021 class, whether it's high school or college, athlete or not, just the fact of how crazy it has been the last 13, 14 months with doing school from home, having some type of in-person learning, not being able to see your friends, for those athletes, not being able to compete for their school, for their city, and to try and, win a league championship or make it to a state tournament, bring home a state championship. Just anybody who is graduating here in 2021, my hat's off to you. Congratulations.
Yeah, good one. Excuse me. Mine is going to go to, kind of thought about this, but they get a lot of the attention anyway, normally. And this is one year where they got none. And there's a little bit of me that says, I'd want to give them some recognition. It was high school football. What they did have a season in last school year. One of the few sports, because the fall sports took a hit this school year. and such a big participation, a lot of work, a lot of notoriety, a lot of revenue that comes to every high school through football was negated. There was college football. So that was kind of a tough thing, I think. If you're especially a senior that was supposed to have your senior in football this year on the high school level, and you see University of Hawaii playing, and you guys cannot. So I thought that must have been really challenging for a senior, and especially if you had aspirations to play on the next level in college, to have to go through this season. So I want to throw my shout out to the seniors who played football and did not have any season this academic year. So it was tough for all of them. They got to graduate. Let's hope. It looks like next school year will be back to normal. All right.
Hopefully.
This will be our final podcast for a while, as we'll take a break for the summer, because part of it, because Tiff's going to get married next month. So
Yes,
congratulations to you. Happy
Thank you.
marriage coming up in June, and we will be back in August, in the beginning of the end of the summer, toward the start of fall, when football season is going to be underway under normal circumstances. I want to thank Harrison Kuroda for joining us here and talking some baseball with him. I like his do that he had there.
Yeah.
And then I guess we can tease on ESPNHonolulu.com. You'll be doing a Fan Friday with Harrison. So this is maybe a little bit of a preview. So
We'll be having one within next week. This week we'll be having Women's Water Polo Center, Lale Mataafa, the alumna out of Lahaina Luna on Maui.
all right. So always tune in to, actually it's on the Facebook page, is it not? ESPN Honolulu Facebook page?
It comes out on the ESPN Honolulu Facebook page every Friday morning at 10 a.m. And you can always go to see it, like you said, ESPNHonolulu.com. We'll drop it on all sorts of social media platforms, including my personal one. So enjoy. That'll be your summer content.
There it is. That'll continue on. We'll be back in August. And for everyone here at the Dave and Tiff Sports Podcast, Tiff, me, Dave, have a safe summer. And as always,
Be safe. Wear that mask. Stay
All right.
socially distant.
see you later.